Hey everyone, it's Cassie with LDRS Creative, and today we're going to be playing with ink and stencils and a little bit of shimmering magic. We are going to be using the Playful Patterns stencil today. It's a nice, durable stencil from LDRS Creative. It has several different patterns. We're also using several ink colors. I have a light and a dark from two different color families, blue and green, as well as a gray ink. I have links in the description below for all of these products, so you can find everything there to check it out if you want. And let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a torn mask. To do that, we're just going to tear a piece of scrap cardstock just in half to give us a nice torn pattern. Then we can go ahead and grab the cardstock that we're going to be working with. And you're probably going to want to tape that cardstock down to your surface so it doesn't shift on you while you're working. Then you can determine where you want your torn mask to be and go ahead and tape that in place. When you're figuring that out, you want to make sure that the gap between your two masks is no wider than the pattern on the stencil. Once you have everything taped in place, you're going to want to take some Alloy Hybrid ink from LDRS Creative. It is a gray ink, and very lightly sponge along the edge of both torn edges. This will give some dimension to your actual stenciled area. You can see with this close-up view how I'm not going all the way across, just barely getting on there. You can't even really tell that it's there, but if you flip the torn part over, then that's when you can see the difference between the uninked area and the inked area. Now it's time to add some color. To do this, we're going to choose which pattern on our stencil that we're going to use. I'm going to be using these stripes. So I'm going to line that up over top of my gap and tape the stencil in place so that it doesn't move while I'm working. So I'm going to use a little bit more of that low tack tape just to tape that in place. Then I have chosen a dark and a light color of two colors that blend well together, blue and green. I'm using Evergreen, Key Lime Pie, Bally Blue, and Dark Wash Jeans. And these are all hybrid inks. Again, links in the description below. I'm going to be using some makeup wedges for this, but you can also use an ink blending tool or blending brushes, whatever you prefer. I'm just starting with the dark blue on the bottom and the light blue on top of that, and then going up to the dark green on the top and then moving into the light green. You want to make sure that you're overlapping the colors on both sides so that your colors blend. And I found that I get smoother blends if I go through and do a second layer instead of trying to get it perfectly smooth the first time through. If I go ahead and do my first layer and then do my second layer and really work through those blends. For this next step, we want to work quickly because the hybrid inks will dry fairly quickly, but if we work really fast, we can put some perfect pearls on top of our wet ink and they will stick. So I am just using a fluffy paintbrush to brush some perfect pearls on and kind of smush them into the ink. And then I will brush off the extra powder. You can see that it sticks wherever that ink was wet. Technically, the hybrid inks should dry fast enough that this shouldn't be possible, but the LDRS Creative hybrid inks are juicy enough that they stay wet long enough for you to quickly do this. To set it, I'm just misting a little bit of water into the air and wafting my paper through it. And now the perfect pearls are set and good to go. Before we forget, we do want to clean our stencil. If we leave the hybrid inks on there, they will stain it and they might contaminate the next time you try and use the stencil. So I'm just cleaning it off with a baby wipe and then a dry towel. So now I'm going to choose a sentiment from the new Puddle Jumper stamp set. I'm starting with the Be Happy sentiment, but I don't want the word be on there, so I'm going to mask that off with a little bit of clear tape. Then I will ink up the stamp, and I'm using some Raven Hybrid ink for that. And I'll take off the tape and stamp the word happy. Then there's another sentiment in that set that says you are my, and so I'm going to put that on my block, ink it up, and stamp it right above the word happy. At this point, we're ready to add our front panel to a top folding A2 card, so I'm just going to add some adhesive and glue that right in place. You can leave it like this if you want. It looks absolutely gorgeous when you look at it in the light. Catches that shimmer. If you want, you can embellish further, but it does work perfectly as a standalone, just like this. I hope you enjoyed this technique and maybe learned a little bit more about our hybrid inks. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give a thumbs up and be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. There are links in the description below for the products that I used, as well as places that you can find LDRS Creative and other places that you can find me. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.